Hello everyone, I'm Charis, your physics teacher in Senior 6. Now, let's start with a great attention. The previous lesson, we have seen that we're having two open ends. The attention is here. To know the frequency on that case, we have frequency number of overtones minus 1 is equal to the number of overtones times the speed divided by 2 length. Or you can take this one. If you have V over 2L, that's what you call the fundamental frequency. Fundamental frequency of that case. Now if you have N as number of overtones times the fundamental, that is the general formula. It's a matter of knowing the fundamental frequency and the number of overtones. But let us deal with our new case. Tube of length L with 1 open end. Great. Don't you see that there is a relationship between the previous reason and this reason? Now I have this one. Remember, for this case, at each end it should be closed. Another one should be open. Now we have a wave like this. So the length or the distance from here, that's what we call a node. And there we have antinodes. Now, if you have these antinodes, so the distance, the length will be equal to the wavelength divided by 4. Okay? For this case, now the speed is equal to wavelength divided by the period, or wavelength times the frequency. Now the speed here will be equal to wavelength, and the wavelength here will be equal to 4 times the length. So that is 4 times the length divided by the period. Wow! Don't you see that if you have the speed is equal to 4 LO times frequency, as 1 over period is equal to the frequency I have seen. So by taking another example, this is the fundamental for this case. Now if you have another case, for another example, where we have like let's take for example this pipe. It is closed at one end and open at another end. Remember, this is wavelength divided by 4, wavelength divided by 4, wavelength divided by 4. Okay? Now, wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4, that is 3 wavelength divided by 4. To mean the length for this case will be equal to 3 times the wavelength divided by 4. Cross multiplication, we have 4 length is equal to 3 wavelength. Okay? Now, the wavelength here will be equal to 4 times L over 3. Great. How can I find the speed? How can I find the frequency? Very simple. As you have seen, the speed will be equal to wavelength divided by period, or the speed is equal to wavelength times the frequency. Now for this case, we have the speed is equal to the wavelength, that is 4 times the length divided by 3. Wow, very interesting. Don't you see that if the speed is equal to 4 times the length over 3, then times the frequency. Okay? So to mean that 4 over 3, length times the frequency will be the speed. But to me, I'm very interested in also finding the frequency. Are you not interested for this case? Thank you. So the frequency here, 4 Or let's take 3 times V is equal to 4 LF. So to mean that 3 times the speed over 4 times the length will be equal to the frequency. Let's take another example, then you can generalize it by finding the general formula as you have seen for the first case where we're having open ends pipe or an open end. Let's take, for example, another case. Now I have this case. Let's take many as possible, as long as it is open at one end. Remember, this will be equal to wavelength divided by 4. This one, wavelength divided by 4. To mean this one has wavelength divided by 2. What if you can do this? That is wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4. Wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4 for this. Wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4. Wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4. Then plus wavelength divided by 4. By adding all of them, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? We have 8 wavelength divided by 4 plus wavelength divided by 4. Common denominator will be equal to 4. Now that is 9 wavelength divided by 4. Don't you see that now you are going to find the speed? We are going to find the frequency. It's very easy. The same formula. We have the speed equal to wavelength divided by the period, or wavelength times the frequency. Okay? Now if this speed V is equal to wavelength, and remember this will be equal to L for this pipe, to mean 4 times length divided by 9 is equal to the wavelength. Okay? What is, I can replace it by here. That's 4 L divided by 9. That is the wavelength, then times the frequency. So 9V over 4L is equal to the frequency. When you are comparing these 3 formulas, we're having on the first case, the second one, the third one for this one. So what if you can generalize this formula? How can I find the frequency? Very simple. So here the frequency N will be equal to 2N plus 1 times the fundamental frequency. Remember, what was the fundamental frequency? Fundamental frequency was for the first case, to mean that if wavelength divided by 4 was equal to the length, then speed is equal to wavelength times the frequency. So the frequency is equal to the V over wavelength. That's to mean that frequency will be equal to, here wavelength is equal to 4L, to mean that V over 4L, that's what you call the fundamental frequency for this case. Okay? And you call it the harmonic. Now the fundamental also it is called the harmony. To mean the second one will be the first overtone. Now let's take an example. So Fn will be equal to 2n plus 1 times V over 4L. Now let us take for example where we have n which is equal to 5, and check whether our formula will show us that this is a general formula. Let's take 5. That is 2. If n is equal to 5, now we have 2 times 5 plus 1 V over 4L. That is 11 V over 4L. Very interesting. Now let us check whether this formula it is true. I have 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So the length here will be equal to 5 wavelength divided by 4. Okay? So to mean 4 times wavelength is equal to 5. 4 times wavelength, that's the length. So the 4 times the length will be equal to 5 wavelength. So wavelength is equal to 4 L over 5. Now, if you have, how many open pipes do we have here? Open pipes. Now, if there are 1, 2, okay? So, to have this 11, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So far, now if you have 11, the length will be equal to 11 wavelength divided by 4. So 4 times length is equal to 11 wavelength. So the wavelength will be equal to 4L divided by 11. Now replacing in the formula, where V is equal to wavelength divided by period, or wavelength times the frequency, where we have frequency which is equal to V over wavelength, to mean for this case we have frequency is equal to V over wavelength, that is 4L over 11. That's to mean that this is equal to 11V over 4L. Wow! Don't you see that the general formula shows us that if you know the general formula and you know the number of overtones, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So by using this formula, where Fn is equal to n plus 1 times V over 4L. Now if n is equal to 5, that's 2 times 5, that's 10, plus 1, that's 11, that's 11 V over 4L. Very interesting. Don't you see that? At least now we know the general formula for the tube of length L with 1 open ends. And previously we have seen when the pipe is open, we're having this formula. Please note this. Please note this. For open pipe, Fn minus 1 was equal to n times the fundamental. To mean this was equal to n times V over 2L. Remember, L is the length of the pipe, V is the speed of the sound wave, then n the number of overtones. Now we have, that's the first case. The second case was for 1 open end pipe, where we have Fn, which is equal to n plus 1 times the fundamental frequency. So if you know these two formulas and you know the number of overtones, it's a matter of replacing it without even passing through the drawings. The drawing or diagrams were there to help you to understand very well how we count overtones. Thank you very much for For the next lesson, we are going to see how can we apply this formula by using a tube or a pipe which is open at one end. So you may need more reasons for this. Please visit our website www.umenyi.net or subscribe on Ikaramu. Don't you write a marker, it is Ikaramu TV. Subscribe on it, you are going to see more reasons, but also like this on our YouTube channel. I love you. Thank you very much.